Hey guys, it's Ghostly. Honestly, like I don't really have an intro for today planned. It's just kind of I'm diving right into it, right? But I wanted to talk about something that has kind of been on my mind recently. It's something that I've been kind of experiencing and going through a bit myself. Um, but I am like a really bad overthinker, right? I do it all the time. It's not good. Especially because I obsess over it. For example, like one of the biggest things that you can do to mess with me is is just be cryptic on like social media, right? Um, I think I got like the inspiration for this video like from Swoozy, by the way, but like I think he was talking about how like, oh yeah, like if you're on Twitter and you say some cryptic crap, like, oh, so it's like that, like, like as an overthinker you take that personally, and like that is the realest thing I think I've like ever heard. But it goes like both ways, right? Positive and negative. It's like if I hear someone on like especially if it's someone like I'm interested in, right? Being like, all like, oh my god, he's so great. Like he's so nice. Like I love him so much, or whatever. It's like either I will. There's two options here, right? I will either A, think it's about me and it will fuel my delusion, or B, I will be like, damn, they're not talking. It's not about me, and like it'll send me into like this like spiral of just like, man, I'm stupid for like thinking I could even, you know, like this person, whatever. But like, at the same time, it's like I find out, later on, turns out, yeah, I was right the first time. Now it was about me, and I'm stupid. um, so it's just like, oh well, damn, you know. It's like I'm either delusional or I'm jealous, and both are caused by overthinking. It's a phenomenal life that I live. um, but yeah, I don't know. It's just I feel like it's just super easy for like the seeds of doubt to just kind of get planted in your head, and then like you like unintentionally kind of just feed it through like like just confirmation and like just like basically just like validation through like things that have no correlation whatsoever, right? Which doesn't make sense when I say it, but like I'll use an example, right? And I'll use the same example of like, you know, liking someone and then being like, oh, this person doesn't like me though, and it's just totally feeding into delusion, right? You're just like, so it's like, okay, you're just like, oh man, like I really really like this one person, but like I don't think they'll ever really like me like that, right? Like it's just platonic, it's just cool, it's just we're friends, you know. But then like one of your friends will just be like, yo, you guys like argue like an old married couple, right? and then they'll start planning just the idea that like you guys have that kind of chemistry. And so it's like, well, then you're like, maybe I do like just click with this person. And so then you start like thinking about it, and then you're like, and then you're looking for signs everywhere. You're like, okay, like maybe like they're really bad overthinkers, and like, maybe the people that are just as bad as me will get this. It's like, okay, they like me. I better get some sort of sign or confirmation from the universe. In the next 10 minutes, if I see a blue car in the next like 10 minutes on this street, they like me. And then you're like scanning this road for like blue cars or some shit. I don't know. It's a really just off the top of my head example that makes like no sense, but like, you kind of, it's almost like the bargaining stage of like grief, right? Which is a weird way to describe it, but it's like, I feel like it's the only way I can make it make sense. But yeah, no, it's unfortunate, being like an overthinker and like a hopeless romantic, dude. It is not an easy life. But sometimes you kind of gotta just like work with it, I guess, which sounds like a horrible piece of advice, but it's like, I mean, in a situation like this, really, like what would you do, right? Like when it's dealing with like feelings, because I feel like feelings and catching feelings and having feelings for people is like a big reason people overthink, whether it's like you're in a relationship and you're scared of a breakup happening, or you don't know if someone likes you back and you're trying to like figure it out. I think one of the biggest things that I've realized is like, whatever it is, and this is genuine advice, right? This isn't like some like me just talking out of my ass for the sake of talking out of my ass, type shit. This is like, yo, damn, my voice is cracking today. No, it's like, yo, if something's gonna form, it'll form naturally. If something's going to happen, if they're going to break up, it'll happen. And it'll happen for a reason. Because I'm a very firm believer in the idea that everything does happen for a reason. I'm not religious, but I feel like there's always a lesson to be learned from every, like, situation. I feel like you can always take something away from it. Like, I feel like, for example, in this recent, like, not recent because it was a year ago, but like the last relationship I was in, when that breakup happened, my big takeaway, the lesson that I learned was like, oh, even the people that are the closest to you can lie. They are capable of lying. That is something that they can do. So it's like, it kind of taught me to like be a little more cautious, be a little more wary, like, don't be mistrusting, don't be like controlling either, but it's like, just keep an open mind, right? So I feel like just, when it comes to stuff like that, everything happens for a reason. And so if you want them to like you, don't force it, let it happen naturally. just treat them as you would any other friend, right? Because anything else, I'm gonna be honest, comes off as like being super like nice guy, and no one fucks with that. No one likes that. It's weird. It's creepy. It's gross. Now, if you're like me and you're kind of just like oblivious to your own actions, you don't really know that you're doing it until it's like too late. If you find yourself going out of your way to just be like above and beyond, just so you think you have like any sort of shot, I'm gonna be honest, that's too much. It sounds corny as hell, but like straight up, when it comes to like shit like this, like the easiest way for me to stop overthinking is just like, it is just the mentality of like whatever happens is gonna happen. Whatever's gonna happen will form naturally. If it's gonna last, it'll last. If it's not, you know, don't force it, and you know, maybe you'll pull through. Because a lot of my overthinking comes from relationships, right? As do I feel like a lot of people's, anxieties and shit come from. It's like, I feel like the worst thing you can do in a relationship is force it to work. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. You can't control that. If you feel like you're playing a game in it, like if you feel like you're like, it's like if it feels like you have to like change how you are in order to have a shot, like then it's not worth it, If you're treating it like a game that you have to win, I'm gonna be real, all you're doing is just manipulating a manipulator. Like that's what that is. If you gotta be like, alright, so I gotta do like this whole scheme, this whole thing to get this person to like me, if and don't get me wrong, like I get it's like all circumstantial, like, and it could very much just be like, I don't know, maybe I just don't understand the concept of like playing hard to get. I don't even know if that's a thing really, or if that's just in like movies. But like, I feel like if it's to a point where you have to like change who you are as a person, like it's not worth it, bro. You gotta run. Because it should be like, I don't know. I think maybe for me it's just a lot of the people I end up liking, I just naturally have really good chemistry with. And so like maybe that's just like mentally I'm like, oh, like you should just click with the person. But I know that's not always the case. But I don't know. I think like honestly, if you just accept the idea that like, I think the best way to look at it is like like whether you believe in fate or destiny, right? Or anything of that nature. I think something that like does not change is that the world we live in is deterministic, which means our actions dictate the future, right? That is a hard truth, right? So we have no way of disproving that, right? We have no way of being like that is in fact false. There's no way to debunk that. So our future, right? Our world is deterministic, right? Which means again, the past dictates the future. So whatever happens because those gears, those dominoes have been falling in a long chain, right? Those events were set into motion, a long time ago. And so ultimately I've kind of realized that like, yeah, whatever I've like, I accept kind of the idea that like, you know, there's a lot of things that are out of my control, but ultimately if it's something that I feel like is gonna, like, if it's gonna work out, it's gonna work out, right? If it's not, then, you know, there's no point in dwelling on it. But I think, you know, ultimately, when it comes to overthinking, right? Um, you'll know when, like you'll know when, you found someone that, like, you're, like, meant to be with, right? Sorry, I'm, like, fighting back a sneeze right now. Oh, son of a bitch. Um, no, you'll know when there's that person that you're, like, you know you're meant to be with that person, right? Like, it's just you'll click well. You know, you don't have to try in order to get that chemistry. It's kind of just there. Um, everything just feels very natural, right? Um, so it's like, yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, I think ultimately at the end of the day, I almost did it again. Fuck. No, at the end of the day, um, you know, just take a step back and just relax, because I feel like if you just spend your time thinking about everything, like, you're just never gonna experience anything, you know? I don't know if that makes sense or if it's just my 4 a.m. like delirium kicking in, but I don't know. I feel like if you spend your life overthinking, right, you're never gonna have a genuine experience, because you're gonna be just trying to plan out the perfect experience or the perfect scenario. Um, but honestly, like, one of the biggest things that I think I've kind of like, the one of the biggest realizations I've come to is just like, just being able to sit back and accept life, I guess, as it is, right? Accepting the fact that, like, you know, it being life, it's gonna have its ups, it's gonna have its downs, but ultimately, um, those experiences shape who you are as a person and will, you know, ultimately bring out the best in me, right? Like, I've kind of been like, yeah, it sucks that, like, my last relationship ended the way it did, but at the same time, like, I feel like it gave me, like, a sense of, like, emotional maturity, and caution. Like, I know what I want from people now. It's not like how it was before, where it's just like this, like, oh, like, I just like this person because, you know, I like, you know, it's just how, it's just, they're nice. No, it's like, because before I didn't really understand. I'm like, I don't know what I want. I don't know why I like this person. But now it's like, I like people that make me feel secure. I like people that make me feel safe. I like being able to have people that I click really well with, you know? And that's like the, you know, person that I currently have a crush on. It's like I click really well with them. And again, they make me feel safe, and I feel like with this person, I don't have to play games to be like, you know, to get this person to like me. I feel like it's kind of just like whenever I have those moments where like that connection feels really strong, and I feel like if there's ever going to be a chance, it'll be just because like they genuinely just like how I am as a person, right? It's not because I'm changing who I am. It's not because like I'm trying to play into anything. It's literally just I am just being my genuine self around this person, and they like that. Like I feel secure. And don't get me wrong, I still overthink things. Like I got into a fight with that person recently, and I snapped because I was under a lot of stress, and I said some shit that I know for a fact I cannot take back. And I thought they hated me. I thought I had really upset them. I thought what I said was really harsh, and that I had fucked up like any chance that I would ever have of like being with this person. And so like I tried to like massively overcompensate with like just like being extra. And I think I felt the dynamic shift. I felt them like getting more and more distant. And so when I was able to kind of slow down and be like, hey, wait, I'm holding on too hard, like I'm pushing this person away, I was able to ease up and kind of just like take a few steps back, gather myself, and continue as things were. And they were like, hey, like I'm not like, and I reached out, I'm like, hey, I'm not sure if you're upset, is there anything I can do to make it up to you? They're like, dude, I'm not angry, like at all, like you're good. And kind of just left it there. But it's like I was making a big deal out of something that in their eyes they weren't even really thinking of. And so it's just one of those things where it's like I feel like if you obsess over the shit that you're overthinking, you're just gonna make the problem worse. And I'm not like trying to be like you should never overthink things. No, because it's like it's a defense mechanism. It can protect you at times, but ultimately, I think it a lot of the times will cause more harm than it does good. But like I fixed things with this person. Like I say fix, but there's never really a problem. And they were really cool about it, and now the dynamic that I had before is kind of poking through. It's coming back, and it's I'm sitting there like, okay, I think like everything's gonna be fine. I stopped like just saying shit for the sake of like trying to get on their like good side or whatever, or just trying to like appeal, right? Like I started being more genuine, more upfront, and turns out people appreciate that. It's crazy. But yeah, no, I think my big piece of advice for everyone watching this, especially because I know the last one about growing up kind of hit really close for some people. It's like, dude, if you're stressed and you're overthinking about stuff, whether it's relationships, school, friends, take a few steps back, breathe. And then if it's about another person, ask them about it. Talk to them about it. It's terrifying, but the best thing you can do when you're overthinking is communicate. It goes for friendships. It goes for relationships, especially. But like, just talk, you know, because as much as you like to think that you know what's going on, you're not a mind reader. You know, you're not. That's not something that you're able to do, and so you're going off of guesswork, and your guesswork is very biased with your perspective. And if it's another thing like similar to what I went through, where it's an argument, your view is clouded with guilt, right? And so you can't really take that for 100%, you know. You can't take it at face value. You got to take it with a grain of salt. And so ultimately, like, just take a step back, breathe, and talk it out, you know, communicate. That is literally the healthiest thing that you could do in a situation where you feel like you messed up. It's hard to do, but sometimes the best thing that you could like do at all is admit that you messed up. And trust me, I get how hard that is, and that's coming from someone with like a bunch of pride and like value on like self like preservation, right? So like being right is very important to me. And so admitting that you messed up and that you're in the wrong is one of the realest things that you can do. And people that, you know, you're really close with, people that are like real friends, they'll get that. And so they'll appreciate any sort of communication. But you can't assume that people hate you. You can't assume that you can't assume the worst, because if you assume the worst, you're just going to drift away from that person, and they will always wonder why. And communication will never happen, and so those like sides will never get cleared up. And I've seen it happen a million times. I've experienced it, you know, probably just as much, and it sucks. So, you know, if you're overthinking shit, talk it out. If you're stressed about stuff, go lay down. Take a day to yourself, you know. To anyone that's stressed because of things like graduation, because I know it's that time of year and I have a lot of friends that just graduated. Worry about the real world later, right? Enjoy your last summer as like, you know, just enjoy the last summer of like high school. You know, have fun. And just, like, you know, take it easy. You know, like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to kick back at like for a while, especially after high school like just ended. There's no shame. But honestly, you know, just I'm really only here to just like keep the good vibes going, especially after some of the heavier commentaries, I guess. This one was really just me ranting about like stuff that's been going on recently. So, but it seems like people relate to it. So I want y'all to know that if y'all are ever in need of a distraction, I'm here once a week. So, with that being said, I'll catch y'all later.